Hey everyone, Tyler and Dustin here. Uh, it's bad, Tyler. I was pulling up the email that Skottie sent out today for I Hate Fairyland, so I kind of lost my concentration for a second. But
Understandable.
okay,
Lots of good news out today. So
oh yeah, most definitely, and especially with today being New Comic Book Day, and we've discussed this in the past. Usually, there's lots of breaking news that happens, and Skottie sent out a wonderful update for the Happy End game, the
yeah,
eighth arc of I Hate Fairyland. So it'll be very exciting to discuss that in the future. But for now, tonight we'll get started. It's all about Bully Wars. Full disclosure: have you read Bully Wars before, or is this your first time reading it?
I have. Yeah, I've read it before. It's still rather recent. I think at least like a year or two ago is when I actually finally read through it. And I believe it was generally because of a graded comic that was available at my local comic store. That was because Coliseum, where I go get my comics and everything, they actually did a variant cover for Bully Wars that was exclusive to their store. So they had a graded copy, and that was what I wanted to save up for and buy. So that got me to read the story finally, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. So
Well, I'm gonna. This is like confession time. I have never read Bully Wars. I I think I own all the issues and I own the variants, but uh, I've never actually read the comic. So it was kind of exciting because out of all of Scottie's work, I believe this is the only property that I'd never read before. So
yeah,
whenever I offered this as a suggestion for one of our Wednesday night episodes, I thought, well, this will be fun. This will be a good excuse to read it and actually be able to talk about it because
exactly.
not
Yeah.
not a whole lot of love for Bully Wars. It doesn't get discussed quite that much anymore. But the first issue was a very fun read.
Yeah, no, it's a blast, and I could be mistaken, but I think it's his kind of first original or like his own IP where he didn't do the artwork. I could be wrong. I thought Bully Wars was maybe the first one where he just strictly did the writing for it. Um, but yeah, I mean his writing and Aaron Conley's art is just it's super fun, and it's again classic Skottie, where it's taking the idea of bullies and making bully wars, and kind of turning things on their head and just making it more silly, but it still has that impactful message and punch to it emotionally. So
Well, it's there's a podcast, or whenever Megan had uploaded all of Scottie's interviews for Spotify, one of the interviews was with Skottie and Aaron Conley, and they kind of
oh, nice.
discussed this. And I cheated a little bit. I listened to it yesterday so I could at least be up to date. And I mean, the kind of the origin of Bully Wars, according to Skottie, was that the idea was first kicking around in his head back in 2010, and
Mm,
he had originally planned it to go along with Scholastic and as a graphic novel. And he said
okay.
that he, just was writing it, drawing it, doing all that. He's going to make it one big book, and he kind of put it on the back burner. He said after looking back at it, the bullies were a little bit meaner than what he wanted it to be. It didn't have the right tone, and I think you're right because this book, Bully Wars issue 1, came out. I wrote the date down so I wouldn't forget. September 5th of 2018. Middle West came out November 21st of 2018. So these were kind of I won't say racing to get out first, but yeah, this one beat Middle West by a few months for
That's
being Scottie's
interesting.
written property. And
Yeah.
the shoot, I was going to say, oh, I think the other discussion that he had with Conley was talking about how whenever they got together to do some type of new story, they were going to do this cool story about kids with bikes and like a supernatural feel to it. And then as they were discussing this, kind of fleshing it out,
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things came out. Yeah.
I think I
But,
do because I remember because I needed and thank you for reminding me. I need to get back to that list because I started listening to that and I really appreciate Megan and them putting that together because
oh
I
yeah.
started with the newer, but it's just really nice to just go dive into that and find stuff like that. Bully Wars because like you said, unfortunately, it just doesn't get discussed as much as it should. But it's interesting that it and Middle West came out the same time and. Maybe that, also kind of plays into part of it just because Middle West was such a huge hit that maybe, kind of outshone, Bully Wars in a way. But interesting, yeah, that the bully, again, I always love that to where, you know, if he has an idea and he kind of sidelines it and then revisits it, and then again, as an artist, that gives you time, you know, gives you fresh eyes and a fresh perspective, and allows you to be able to look at it from a different angle and see, you know, the things that maybe weren't working as much or didn't feel, you know, as right, and then be able to change them. So it's interesting, you know, it's crazy to think that, you know, back in 2010 was when it started, but it didn't get released until 2018. So that definitely makes sense. That I wouldn't have probably caught on to it, because we moved here, like I said, roughly like 3 years ago or so. So it was, you know, it'd been out a few years at that point, but I wasn't as well versed with his written work yet. Like right around that time was when I was picking up Middle West, and then, you know, seeing other stuff that he had written, realizing that I enjoyed his writing just as much as I enjoyed his art. So
Yeah, and I think that was, I mean, when this came out, I mean, most people, or a lot of people, were into collecting the covers, the Marvel baby variant covers, and probably picked up his covers of of this book, and picked up because he was writing, but maybe didn't give it a chance. Especially the all ages, you know, target audience for this is something a little different than, I mean, I Hate Fairyland could be read by all audiences, but there is some adult content in it.
There's an underlying, it's the old, you know, kind of cartoon SpongeBob, where it's like, for sure it's meant for kids, but there's definitely jokes in there that a kid would not get, kind of a deal. So
yeah, and Gert, you know, flipping the bird, she's prone to do that occasionally, and chop it into, very bloody and very violent,
very
but also
very, you know, saucy type of person. So
that's it. So this one being all ages, I won't say it scared me away, because I wasn't reading a whole lot of comics at that time, but it also didn't draw me in like it should have. And, you know, now I get the privilege of getting to read it for the first time with fresh eyes. And as we discuss issue 1, there's a couple parts I wasn't quite expecting to happen, or I thought something else was going to happen. So it's fun to read a story from someone that, you know, you feel like you've followed for a good decade or so, but, you know, you get to see it for the first time.
Yeah, no, and it's a great point. And like you said, I mean, it's one of the things I love about his writing, is that you just kind of never, you know what you're going to get, but you don't know what you're going to get. Again, it's different genres, different stories. But again, what I love is that the humor is there always. And then, like I said, the emotional, impactful, you know, part of it is also there. And, you know, and like you said, I'm also glad we're revisiting it, because I only read it the once. So, and it's been, you know, at least a year or two now. So it's nice to be able to go in and refresh myself, especially, you know, we've talked about the fact that he brought Bully Wars original art to Heroes Con, and just seeing that it still exists, he still owns it. I was just baffled. I was like, how's this not gone? You know, how did people not have this in their homes already? So,
well, there's also, if you go to felixcomicart.com, and I dropped the banner there, Aaron Connolly's got his, I think, page issue 1. I don't know if they kept that or Aaron kept that, but it has issue 2 and issue 3's art at Felix. He still has, and it's quite affordable too. I mean, it's not priced crazy. There's even a couple of covers in there for sale. So if nothing else, it's fun to check out some of Aaron Connolly's other art that Felix has available. It's worth just spending a few minutes just kind of perusing through all that. And because it's not just Bully Wars art that he has there, it's like a whole,
you can get lost on Felix art. They host so many wonderful, great artists, and it's always a blast just going through there and getting to see, again, high resolution images of the inks, and, you know, even maybe sketches or finished pieces, whatever have you. So I'll definitely make sure, because I didn't realize Aaron was part of that crew. So
yeah, at the end of, because I bought the digital copy of this one, and at the end of the issue 1 of Bully Wars, Felix was, as far as I know, was one of the first art reps to actually put ads in the back of the papers for his artists with their art. And, you know, like second or third to last page is an ad for Skottie, because Felix repped Skottie at the time.
Yeah.
And then the next one was Aaron Connolly. So, you know, Felix is very supportive of the artists that he reps. So Aaron's in good hands with him, and he's an incredible artist too, as we can see from Bully Wars. And even though this drawing here, and I don't know if I mentioned this before the show started or not, but this is a commission from 2020, and it was one of the first or second commission lists that I saw Skottie take. I can't remember if this one was through Felix or if this was through the Skottie his own company, but whenever this first came out, I wasn't really sure who these characters were. I knew they were from Bully Wars, but I was assuming the one on the left was the bully and the one on the right wasn't. But that's a pretty easy assumption to make.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we learned that this is Rufus and Spencer. So
yeah. No, I love this sketch. I love the curved slope of the tile floor, and I love. I really enjoyed Aaron Conley's art, and it's very fitting for the story and stuff. But again, I always love a good Skottie variant cover, and I don't have all of them yet. Unfortunately, I'm still missing 3, I think, of Skottie specifically, but I had the majority of the covers for this series, and it's just always fun to see, Skottie. Again, you can pinpoint it from the face, just the way he's drawn. Yeah. It's his cover or his, commission. And again, always cool to see a commission, especially because, again, we just don't get them as much nowadays. So definitely would have been a really great piece, I'm sure, to be able to ask for and then have him pick and draw. So,
well, the fun thing, about this one and a couple of the other commissions is, a lot of times when you see Skottie draw a commission, it's a Marvel character or a DC character or someone that's a kind of a well-known character. But to see somebody request, Rufus and Spencer, or to request Gert, like the one, I think he did it on YouTube, did a live drawing of that commission.
Gert, yeah.
For My Hate Fairyland. Those are fun. I'm sure Skottie enjoys drawing those because we saw from Ain't No Grave that, Skottie let Jorge, or, Jorge did the interior. I say let, but Jorge did the interiors, but Skottie couldn't sit on the sideline. He did those 1 in 25 variant covers of Ryder, and those were great. I mean, those are great. And even though we're not getting the full interiors from Skottie, it's fun to see his interpretation of the characters, or just seeing his version and some of his fun jokes that he puts into those.
No, for sure. And as I think we've discussed it on here before, but he chooses, the commissions that he takes on. So he's given a list, but you're not guaranteed, to get picked from that list. It's whether or not, he wants to draw the item or, the person that you've chosen. So, like you said, you can definitely tell when he's passionate about stuff, especially with Ain't No Grave, doing 5 covers. It was like, look, I wanted to draw this character too. And I'm sure, seeing Jorge's art or seeing here, it's like seeing Aaron Conley, get to draw these fun characters. He's like, hey, I want in on that. I want to at least be able to, participate in some way. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Aaron Conley even said during that podcast or that interview that, he loved drawing Rufus. He said he was such a fun character to draw. And, they were kind of reminiscent about that a little bit. And I think Skottie had kind of a sketch in his mind, the bones of what the characters were like. And Aaron kind of drew based upon Skottie's description. So, even though, Skottie was also said he was completely hands off with the art, he kind of let Aaron, have full, run at it and have fun with it.
Creative
and
control,
you could tell from this first issue, you could tell that Aaron went crazy with it, because I don't think I saved the screenshot that we'll get to, but the one bubblegum where I believe it's Ernie's like completely covered with bubble.
Covered, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool image, and I wish I would have been able. If I'd been smart, I would have added it to this slide, but
no, for sure. Yeah, it's and kind of going back to our previous episode, or maybe it wasn't the previous, maybe it was 2 back, but the influences that Skottie has had. This definitely fit in with the stuff that I feel like, Skottie digs. Again, very Mad Magazine, very, that kind of, sketchy, rough, kind of squiggly line, everything, is moving in some way, shape, or form, style to it. So,
yeah, even though it's stationary on the page, it still looks like it's actual, like the movement that you're talking about there. It's very easy to see the flow of these, and the angle of the Spencer walking down with his books.
Yeah, it's
his duffel bag.
I love that. It's just so great. Again, just the non-traditional, comic panels are just, breaking things, kind of like I talked about with Ain't No Grave, with Jorge breaking the panels and stuff. I just love that artistic approach to it, rather than being, constricted to the rules and, the way it's been done for the past 50 or so years, kind of a deal. So,
yeah, and then the 4 characters now. I don't want to have any spoilers in it, because this is fun to actually read it for the first time. But, during that podcast, the interview that Skottie was referring to, he's like, the 4 main characters of the book, which are Spencer, the gentleman on the left there carrying all the books and well prepared for any situation, and Edith and Ernie, who he meets there in the second page, who are twins, and then Rufus, who's the bully that we're about to be introduced to. Now, a character that gets introduced a little bit later down the road, Hawk, as I was reading this issue before I listened to the podcast interview, I would have thought Hawk would have been one of the main interviews, would have been a bully that learns a lesson by the end of the book. I mean, but what was your take when we were first introduced to the Hawk character?
I'm having to actually. You have to refresh my memory. Hawk is the
he's the big bull. Well, we'll get through this next page here. So there's the full image of Rufus. Freezing up a little bit. There we go. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, I got a little bit of lag, but
Rufus is there on the left, and then okay, and then Rottenville High, the high school that they're all going to, is there on the right, and then we'll get to this issue. Hawk is the bully on the left there that actually picks Rufus, a bigger bully than Rufus is. So.
Yeah, no, I only read the first issue, so I didn't go back and reread all of it. But again, that, like you said, I really liked it. It reminded me reading it that, like you said, it wasn't, at least for me, I remember first reading and being like, oh, you think, especially with the cover and everything, it's like, oh, it's Rufus, or like, maybe he's part of this gang, and they're all bullies together and stuff. And, starting out and Rufus, and we get to know him, and then him bullying, and then getting to then, high school, and then realizing, oh, I always use the Qui-Gon quote from episode 1, Phantom Menace, but it's like, there's always a bigger fish. There's always, another bully, a bigger bully. It's an interesting spin. It's something, like you said, I didn't expect it to go. And it's one of those things where you like seeing, like, yeah, the bully gets his. And again, as you get on in the story, you kind of, it's one of those things that I personally love, again, where somebody who didn't have sympathy for you now suddenly have sympathy, or you're finding yourself relating that person. And I like how they did that with Rufus, and then, like you said, even with Hawk, you get that understanding as we go on. So
yeah, and the sympathy, the comeuppance turn to sympathy, it struck me at the middle panel there of the middle page there, where he's in the locker, and there's no telling how many kids that Rufus has put into lockers over the years, and then this is the point where the tables have turned, and just the artwork that's done there, where his face shifts from, let me out to, guys, is there anybody out there? That's whenever I started to say, I was like, well, man, even though this guy probably has all this coming, at the same time, he's going to hopefully learn a lesson from this, but who knows?
Feel bad. Yeah, he's going through his 5 stages of grief there, pretty much.
There you go. Yeah.
The denial, depression, acceptance, he's going through all of it. And I mean, it's always one of those interesting things where, it's black and white is never, in my opinion, good. It's not that it's not good storytelling, but I just find the more gray area to be a little bit more interesting when it comes to writing your characters, and whether or not that's a good character that then turns bad, or a bad character that you realize has some good in them, because there is no good and evil. There is good and evil inside of all of us, and it's that battle, that struggle to pick and choose your choices in life that lead to either the good or the evil. And like you said, for being able to see Rufus go through that himself, especially, like you said, having known that he's been bullying them since kindergarten, like he says, he's like, hey, I'm a pro at this now. And it's like, well, now you're the noob. Now you're the fresh meat, now you're going to experience what you've been doling out over these years. And like you said, there's that sense of justice, but also it's not so fun, isn't it? You don't want to be able to experience that if you don't have to.
No, and the layers that you add to the bullies too, and this is, may not be the direction it's taken, but whenever I think of bullies, I always think of the stereotype of the bully is the one that gets picked on at home by their dad. Speaking of Stranger Things, you think of like Billy from Stranger Things, where the dad was abusive, and you think, is this just a cycle? Is this just what how is a bully created? Like, was it a one bad day, or was it a lifetime of bad decisions or bad treatment that created the bully? So even though Rufus is so much bigger and intimidating to the 3 main characters that we have here, we see that Hawk is a whole lot bigger than he is, and just picks him up with very little, effort at all.
Just a few fingers,
yeah, and shoves him in a locker, and not just says, hey, I'm the only one that does the bullying here, but you see in that last page, proceeds to, shoot spit wads at him, hang him from the basketball goal, put signs on his back, pants him, pretty much all the things that I'm sure Rufus has really got a thrill out of doing to other people, or feels like he has to do to other people to have his identity, is now the tables have turned and he's getting a little dose of his own medicine.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting, and this story is interesting because, I dealt with bullying and like throughout school growing up and stuff. And I was smaller. I really didn't hit puberty until much, much later. Like I was very much a late bloomer. So I legit have actually been, well, I wasn't shoved in a locker, but it was more so kind of like peer pressured into getting into a locker by like kids. And like, it was all like an aha moment, but it's like still one of those things where it's not fun. It's not fun to be in that situation, especially because it was locked. So, I had to wait for a teacher to come and get me out and stuff. And so it wasn't as like, straightforward black and white, like, it was one kid and they shoved me in the locker and, that kind of a deal. But like you said, it's always interesting. And that's at least my mind where it always generally goes is, how does somebody end up here? It's so easy to be like, point at Rufus and go, wow, you're a horrible person. But, is that because there's another horrible person that's influencing them, or, is it their own fears or bias, whatever, it is. So, like you said, I'm definitely excited, because I had forgotten, the Hawk stuff, how his character develops. So, like I said, I get vague pictures, and as I read more, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember this, or if a panel will flash in my mind. So as we, kind of continue through the story, it'll be nice to revisit. So.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that, because, things like that to use. The kids are watching Inside Out upstairs, so I'll steal the phrase core memories. Events like that in our life, especially when we're younger and really in that developmental stage of adolescence, can really leave like lifelong impressions on us. But it's how you deal with that going forward. And do you use that to be an excuse for everything the rest of your life, or do you say, hey, I'm going to overcome this?
Yeah.
And a lot of times bullies, I don't think, have that realization that that's what they're creating. The core memories they're creating is of something of joy, something funny, having people laugh with them, not realizing the pain they're inflicting on the other people, and the negativity that blossoms, because usually people that are bullied, will bully somebody smaller than them. There's always a bigger fish. Well, I guess it's true too. There's always a smaller fish, because it creates something where you can use that as hate to bully, or you can say, hey, I want to break this cycle, and I want to make sure and uplift people, so they never have to experience the look that Rufus has. And I'm sure the fear that you have when you're locked and hey, somebody's going to eventually get me, but how long is it going to be? And you're just left kind of there with your thoughts to reminisce on. So yeah, that's awful that anybody would do that. And in your mind too, it's hard not to do the revenge scenario where Ernie and Spencer and Edith are going,
yeah,
all right, he's getting what he's got. He's getting what's coming to him. Leave him in there.
Yeah. To revel in it. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's, I mean, this is, kind of gets more philosophical or deep and stuff. But again, that's, one of the reasons why I really like Skottie's work. But, people who have, the least are some of the happiest people you find. Again, it's the people who've experienced that kind of, hardship, or people who've experienced, bad things like that, they understand, that it's not fun. And then, and obviously Rufus hasn't had that happen yet until now. And now that he's experienced it, it'll be interesting to see how that changes his perspective, whether it does change him or he still tries to, fit in with the group. Cause, you see in the locker here, and as he's trying to sell himself, he's like, oh, y'all are just hazing me. I get it. Like, I'm part of the bullies, but this is just, initiation. And it's like, no, you're now have joined the ranks of the dweebs. You are not a bully here. Like, you are beneath the bullies. Therefore you are a bullied person. So, but yeah, so like you said, it's nice. It's always good to see stories like this. And, it opens up, people to be able to read it, and people who've experienced it and, kind of relate to it, and, or people who haven't, and be able to read it. And like I said, it's a fun, silly setting, but like I said, still has this emotional, core to it. So.
Yeah. And in high school, the emotional part of it, I was sitting here thinking as you were talking too about how quickly things change in high school, and how in ninth grade, you may be the shortest person in the class, and then you hit your growth spurt and come back in 10th grade, and the person that picked on you because you were 4 inches shorter than them are now, you're kind of looking down at them now. So we don't realize how quickly our situations in life can change. And I didn't expect to get too deep in this, from a philosophical point of view, but yeah, it brings up all kinds of like memories of high school, and also of things I've witnessed, and people that, I've seen bullied, that I was like, well, man, I probably should have said something, but I didn't. I didn't want to be the one to get bullied. And we know how quickly that a bully's anger and ire can change towards whoever's the focal point at that moment. So most people try to just kind of stay in the shadows and avoid attention from them. And whenever Rufus really draws attention to himself by picking on the trio that we have here, it almost paints a bullseye on his back for him to be the new victim of Hawk that's going to be terrorized all through high school here. So, or through at least this year. So it's a very deep. It's very, I'm trying to think of the right word to use, but even though on the surface you say this is an all ages book that kids can enjoy because there's a lot of funny content in it, but as an adult reading it and thinking about people you've seen bullied or moments you have been bullied in high school, which I think we all have been bullied to some extent, but some more so than others, it also hits a nerve for some of the pages you're seeing. You're like, oh man, yeah, that's not cool. It's not cool for anybody to get that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's some of this. That's I think some of the best stuff, the stuff that you can read as a kid, and you might experience one thing from it. Like I brought up, SpongeBob being a thing where you thought it was funny and you watched it as a kid, but there are these underlying adult jokes now that I catch, and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe this was allowed to be on for a kid's show. Or same in this sense, like you said, we're reading it as a kid. It's a fun, silly, bully wars. It's a fun comic, but reading it as an adult, it takes on a different meaning, a different relationship or feeling. So that, in my opinion, is the stuff that is the best, that you can kind of keep revisiting and get, a different experience or a different, thing out of it. So,
well, on a different note, but when you said, I actually had a moment happen this week from a movie I watched when I was a kid, and this was probably even before your time, Tyler. Do you remember the movie Beethoven with the big dog?
Oh yeah, Beethoven, yeah.
Yeah, this is such a stupid sidetrack to get into, but I actually had this thought yesterday because, the movies we watch as a kid and we root for the kids in the movie, and you're so excited. They're getting a big dog. The dad's a jerk. And now I'm 43 years old and we have many dogs and many cats in our house. And I can relate to the dad. I had that thought the other day. As my son was wanting to get another dog for his room so he could have a dog for every room in our house. I was thinking I'm becoming, Charles Groban or whatever the dude's name was. It's like, I can totally relate. So this story is no different. There's lots of these stories from the 80s and 90s that I remember watching as a kid, and the subtext or the, going directly over my head, and me just laughing and enjoying, and then watching them now as an adult and being like, oh man, that's dark. There's stuff in that
there's more layers to it than, being able to peel back that onion, so to speak, and realizing, oh, there's many, many layers, or, more to this than I thought there was originally. So,
well, we'll get on to the next slide here, since I actually thought tonight was going to be a really quick show, Tyler, and we're already a half hour into it. So this is the part of the book.
It's good. It's hard to not get sucked into it. So,
oh, most definitely. This is the page that really threw me off. Seeing the tail or the tentacle, I assumed it was a tail coming out of the toilet, which I assumed. I was like, oh man, this is where it gets supernatural. All right, we're entering Skottie territory where there's something supernatural coming in, and when it's revealed that, hey, it's a Spencer in a rat costume, I thought, okay, well, this is cool. Spencer has taken one of his strengths and is using it towards his advantage to try to not, defeat the bully, but befriend the bully with friendships, or defeat him with friendship. So I'm curious. You've read it before. It's been a while. But one of the things I'm really wanting to see now are, what are the bully wars? Like, that's the title of the book. That's what they're discussing. Rufus is mad at himself for not knowing what the bully wars are. But I really want to get in and find out what are the bully wars and what Spencer's plan to help him win, because he seems to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it's a good, again, one of those fun things where it's like, this is in reference to the big bag he was sliding across the ground earlier that we never got to see because Rufus stepped in and threw, spit the gum, and that, got his friend. And so it's funny that it's like one of those things like, oh, you forget about it. And there's, it's not like these comics are terribly long. So it's funny that you can like forget all that and you're like, oh yeah, like that was what he had in his bag the whole time. And then, like you said, interesting that he saw Rufus and his plans kind of changed. He was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to, like, he saw an opportunity and, to be good. But also, I think Spencer's a smart guy. He's like, hey, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So now Rufus, who was my enemy, is now going to help me, take on the actual bully now. Whereas Rufus, was a bully before. So, they, two birds with one stone, and they both, get to do what they need to be able to survive high school. And it's a fine premise, and it reminds me, it's similar to I love the College Monsters University movie. In that similar sense, it's so funny, like seeing them in their college days, like, all right, well, they got to go through these trials and they have to prove they're monsters and do all this stuff. And it sounds very much like Bully Wars. Like, well, Bully Wars, like, okay, this is a contest or something. Like, they've done it the past few years and he's won. What does that entail? What are they going to have to face and do? And I definitely look forward to it. I mean, yeah, I know you got it digitally. I had got the trade paperback. When I first read it, I had to get it off, I think, Amazon or my comic store because he didn't have it on his store at the time. I'm sure he came out with one when it launched, but I'm definitely looking forward to, being able to see it. And I like it because, there's even sketches in the back, of Aaron Conley's development sketches and, the different covers that Skottie did as well. And one of my favorite things actually about the, because they combine all the issues together. And one of my favorite things is that in between each issue, the separating page is the inside of like a notebook. So it's like a lined notebook.
Oh, cool. And that's kind of like, it's kind of what they had for the title or the credits page at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
Listed. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's just great, being able to see all that stuff. So yeah, it's such a fun read, and it's such, it's just got good imagery. I love like the whole eyeball and the Band-Aids, and it's just such a fun comic, and I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully being able to see that Bully Wars original art again next year because, just be able to see that, to actually be able to look at it and compare, especially with the, story more freshly on the mind. And it makes me glad that I've got, like I said, I even was lucky enough because, like I said, since Coliseum did the variant, they had issues signed by both Skottie and Aaron. So I actually have multiple issues that are signed by both Aaron and Skottie that maybe I'll have to add one of those to the giveaway pile if we do one of those again. So.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Hey, Becker, we got a.
How's it going?
But
I'm glad to see somebody there, somebody speaking.
yeah. First comment of the night. Well, the one of the points you touched on was the fact that Rufus is at the line where he can join Spencer and try to win the Bully Wars. And some of the characters have popped in my mind. I mean, one of my I guess I say one of mine. One of a lot of people's favorite characters from Stranger Things is Steve, who as we all know, season 1 he was the biggest jerk.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand him. He was like, just every scene he was in, it was just kind of like, he's going to get eaten by the Demogorgon or whatever it was back then. Whatever it was called before we knew what it was. But then whenever he actually switched over and started helping the kids and the friendship, the relationship between him and Dustin. It was like, all right, well, he's the best character on the show now. He's my favorite character on the show.
Yeah.
Second to Dustin's a pretty cool character just because.
Yeah, Dustin's great. Yeah.
Dustin's
it's such a great, again, that's such a great example. And, without, spoiling, because like you said, even though stuff has been out for a while, like, again, I always reference Breaking Bad, how, a simple school teacher, just becomes, you find it just an utter monster. And like I said, those are the people that pique my interest the most as far as storytelling goes. because somebody who's just inherently a bad guy, it's you need somebody like that, for the most part. But being able to see a story like this, where, like you said, you take Rufus and you hate him within the first panel you see him, you're like, oh, this guy's the worst. This guy is awful. Totally understandable. And then revering, like, hey, haha, like you got yours, your comeuppance, like you said, and then being like, you know what, that's not fun. And then like you said, getting to read that more, as I'm sure we'll get to find out, more about, him and his character, and then the relationship between the two of them. So,
well, the other character that popped in my mind that was introduced and whenever he first came out in season 1 of Walking Dead was Daryl Dixon, who, you're like, he's a jerk, he's hateful, pretty sure he's racist. There's all kinds of things not to like about him. And then Daryl, has got his own show. He's like the one thing that's made it through The Walking Dead through all these years. So, a bully such as Rufus is one. If he has a strong character arc that can change, you can go from having everybody hate the character to it becoming everybody's favorite character if it's written right and the redemption is earned. And through this first issue, I feel like him kind of walking the mile in Spencer's shoes and experiencing all the bullying that he's dished out over the years is probably a good lesson for him, something that's going to stick a little bit as we carry on through issues 2 through 5.
No, yeah, it's a good start. And honestly, I think those are my favorite. I think I like the bad to good more so than the good to bad, just because it's a little bit more fun and it's a little bit more, it's more sneaky. Because like you said, it's easy to look back on Steve now and go, man, he's awesome. But if you go rewatch, Stranger Things season 1, you're like, wow, that guy is just a jerk. Like, he's the worst. How does he become, this great guy that we see later on? So,
when he smashes the camera, Jonathan's camera, and just
you're like,
everything.
Wow, like, what a jerk. So, and that's a great point too. We have Becker there with, Norman Reedus got a lot of mileage out of that character. And, I was going to say, I don't know how he compares to his comic book counterpart, but, that's definitely it as well, just depending upon who portrayed him. And, one that jumps to mind is Alan Rickman as Snape. Like, Snape is one of my favorite characters, and he's a very morally gray character. For the most part, he's not a great guy, but he still has not necessarily good intentions, but I guess a selfish heart in a way. It's interesting, because people will argue about him and stuff, but Alan Rickman did such a fantastic job of bringing that character.
All the nuisances of the character. Well, real quick before you want to make me talk about Snape now, but real quick, I don't think we had talked about this in an earlier show or off the air, but Walking Dead. I don't think you said you ever read the comic, but Norman Reedus, the Daryl Dixon, and Merle, played by Michael Rooker, those were original creations for the TV show.
Oh, so gotcha.
There was no counterpart to him in the comic.
Interesting.
So when they were introduced, it was as someone who had read the comic, was really looking forward to it. I was like, they're throwing these characters in who you've got to have a foil. You got to have somebody that's the heel, the old wrestling term. So they threw these characters in, and you just was like, man, these are just the worst. And they became some of the fan favorites just because of the way they were written. Now Snape, the nuisances. I'd never read the books of Harry Potter except the exception of like the first 2 or 3. I don't think I ever read the last 4. But from what I read, there was so much more. There was many more layers to him within especially the last books. And we can talk about it openly. I'm sure there's no spoilers for Harry Potter now, even with the new Mac show coming out.
Yeah, you either read it or you don't care to read it, kind of a deal. So but just and there's a guy I work with who he's read them, and he can just really digest and spit out, and he's had 30-minute conversations about just some of the choices that he made in the book, and how on the surface you see this bad guy, this evil guy, this guy that wants Harry Potter's downfall, but if you look a little deeper, it's like, well, he's got motives too, and he's got reasons for even maybe not liking Harry and his dad. No, it's like I said, it's an interesting thing because you unfortunately, not to spin off one up. I could also I love Harry Potter. I at least go back and read them once a year. I'll go through the series and I'll rewatch them too. Just because it's just that was my childhood favorite series growing up, and I really related to this this kid who, felt out of place and got to go to a place that he felt, that he fit in. And that's how at least I felt. And Snape's an interesting character because, like you said, he's got a lot more to him in the books. And it's interesting because, like I said, it's, he's got motives, but whether or not, those are really good. Like I said, it's selfish, his love for Lily, and it was one-sided because she didn't see him in that way. It was just more so a friend, but he was so intent on caring for her. And, unfortunately, when she passed.
Wasn't he bullied as well by James and his
he
friends?
Was, yeah. So they would pick on him, and they, hung him up in the air at one point. But, then also he called her, a mudblood, which is, a slur or like a bad word in the world of Harry Potter. Yeah. So, he calls Lily the person he loves that, but, it's just because of his anger and
lashing out.
Just lashing out, unfortunately, and, that tarnished their friendship. And, it's a whole thing. Again, there's just so much more you get from the books. And that's why I'm excited, for the show to be able to get hopefully maybe more character development than we did from the movies, just because you have hopefully that, if they treat each season as a book, you get it's almost like a 10-hour movie, if you will, if there's 10 episodes or, 8 or however many there are. But same could be said. I think it's interesting because Dumbledore, Dumbledore is seen as this hero, this great person, and all around, terrific guy. And really there's some dark stuff to his past in the books. Like he's made mistakes, or even, knowing the entire time that Harry is just a sacrifice. And they kind of play on that in the movie a little bit, but he is. I mean, he set Harry up for death. I mean, he put it all on this kid's shoulders to defeat Voldemort without hardly any help, any, knowledge.
The ultimate evil, the ultimate bully.
It's almost, again, it's that interesting thing where it's, if you really kind of look at, again, nothing's really cookie cutter. Nothing's just, hey, this is a good guy, this is a bad guy. And it is when you're younger, but like you said, rereading them, it's different than that. And like I said, same with Bully Wars and that kind of stuff. So.
Oh man! Well, whenever we have our all Harry Potter night, we've got more questions. But
I know, and that's why I figure you have to do that, with Disney as well. The same deal where it's like, all right, we're up front. This is the Disney episode.
This is the non-Skottie talk.
Yeah, we'll sprinkle it in with some Skottie in there, but
yeah, maybe every 10th episode or so we do that. So
there you go.
All right, so with this team up of Spencer and Rufus, that brings us to the end of the first issue. We'll probably hit up issue 2 in a couple of weeks. We'll take a break and kind of just in case there's any news or any. I mean, one of the things that we'll talk about here in a little bit is we probably could spend the whole night was the absolute books that are coming out. But I really wanted to get started, and I'd like to, Tyler, you give your input too, but do the whole Bully War series, and then maybe even transition into the the Me You Love in the Dark and Middle West, and just try to hit up. We've got nothing but time, so hit up these over the next years or whatever we do this for. So just do complete rereads and discuss them, because it's fun to read these books. It's fun to do my post in the Skottie Young appreciation group, my summary of what I think about the issue. But to be able to get to sit and talk for a half hour and kind of discuss all the plot points and all the going ons of these books, to me it's a lot fun. That's what made meeting people at the con so much fun, was just getting to discuss the stuff that I mainly just keep in my head.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel the exact same way, and like you said, it presents a good reason to either read for the first time or revisit material. And like you said, it's different when you're able to voice stuff. Even reading Ain't No Grave, when we were reading that, and I point out something, you were like, my wine wasn't there at all. You're thinking of this, and I'm over here thinking of this, and being able to kind of come together and bring those thoughts, out and, just kind of discuss it and view things maybe in a different way. So, I definitely to do that. So,
yeah, you did it again with the duffel bag. I didn't realize the rat suit was in the duffel bag. So, as soon as you said that, I was like, of course it was. Why wouldn't I have thought that? Yeah,
no, yeah, it's one of those, it's like I said, rereading it, I catch things where I'm like, oh yeah, like, okay, now I see, I get it now. So
that makes so much more sense. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this next one. One of the things that Skottie had mentioned in the interview with Aaron Conley, when they were asked, and if you had to look at comics, who do you consider like the ultimate villain or the ultimate bully, something along those lines. And, they were talking kind of like the same thing we've been discussing, the characters that are kind of not full evil, not like full, villains. And one of and they referenced like Coach. So I'm assuming, the preview for issue 2 had a picture of a coach on the front. So I'm assuming he's going to be pure evil whenever we get to that. But we'll save that for in a couple of weeks whenever we do the
I
issue
won't
2.
spoil it. Yeah, he's an interesting character. I'll say that for sure. So.
All right, looking forward to that. We'll put an end to our Bully Wars talk and then go to our next scheduled portion of the show. Any new Skottie items in your collection this week?
I do, yes. So I'll go through kind of like some of the normal, but I picked up some of my backlog of Spirits of Vengeance, or What If Donald Duck was Thor. I think the meat obviously was the Missionary. That was like the main thing people were interested in picking up.
Have you read it yet?
I have, yeah. It was just as it was a lot of what you kind of thought of, but also a lot of interesting stuff there. I like the underlying story of what's happening, without like kind of going too much into it. But, again, it's just an interesting like combination of like, just something random and silly happening, but like there's this intense story, kind of going on with it. But, so yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing, where it continues, where it picks up. And, I even got, again, because Ryan Otley, not Skottie Young, but Ryan Otley, he did his cover as well. So, and then, funny enough, Jorge Corona, he has his for episode 2 coming out. So I'll put the 2 next to each other. But again, always interesting too to see that like Valar's, the different sizes, because these are oversized, comics. I showed it with Valar's, but this is how a regular comic compares to. So it's magazine. They thankfully gave me a bag and board with Missionary, but I didn't get one with Ryan Otley's. I didn't get one with Skottie's, unfortunately. So I'll have to try and find one if they have it at the store. But the one I thought was really interesting was I've got kind of an in now who knows that I love Skottie, and he was able to grab this for me.
Oh,
from
cool.
A box that was brought in, and he saw that it was a Skottie, and he was like, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And I was like, "Yeah." I actually passed on that. I was like, it wasn't really a story or that I had much interest in at first, but seeing the artwork up close and just the dogs and cats getting way together, I was just like, what, that is actually a really great and silly cover. So, excuse me. So I was able to pick up those. So. And then I've got hopefully I haven't confirmed yet, but hopefully all of the I Hate Fairyland variants for the Happy End game, as well as there was another one, the Venom Wars, but we'll get to that stuff when we get to the later slides here. So,
all right, cool.
How about yourself? Did you have anything come in or?
Well, I did a post in the group of the warehouse sale stuff, so I won't go through that again.
Yeah.
But I did have something pretty cool come in that I haven't showed anybody yet.
Oh, very nice. Wow. Yeah. So that's funny that you grabbed that one too. That was my favorite, honestly, out of the bunch. That head on Leonardo is just such a great sketch, because the only one he did head on, the rest of them had the side. Oh, I might be wrong. I think he maybe did a Michelangelo front on.
This one was Donatello. The colors are the colors on this was kind of hard to see.
So that makes sense too. I'd get the blue and purple mixed up. So,
well, true story. Whenever I was a very small child, the first action figure of the Ninja Turtles I ever bought was, just to kind of date it, it was like $2. So that's compared to what toys are now. Was a Donatello, one of the original Donatello action figures.
Oh, that's
awesome. I was a little bit of a weird child. I chewed on his head a little bit. I did all that, but I mean, it was such a cool figure. It kind of opened up my love for like the action figures of the Turtles, and ended up buying probably hundreds of Turtles, or not buying. My parents and grandparents would get them for me. But yeah, Donatello has always been kind of my first love for the Ninja Turtles. So yeah, that one was the expression on his face and everything. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
99. So I haven't posted to the group. I wanted to save it for tonight's show. Just came in.
That's really cool.
So
that was 99 with that remark. I mean, that's a really cool addition to the collection. And especially like you said, he hasn't done much turtle stuff. He did his original back in like 2010, and now this newest cover. And this newest cover is just such an awesome homage to the turtles, and the fact he did full color remarks for them as well is really cool. So no, that's an awesome addition for sure, even if it's not Leonardo like I thought it was.
I think you've said before Leonardo is your favorite turtle.
He is, yeah. He's the one mainly I'm a swords guy. I see a guy with 2 swords and I'm like done, sold. I that's for some reason where my mind went was the weapons. I was like, stick. The sai, or even the nunchucks. I was like, the swords, 2 swords. I was like, sold. And blue, blue is at least my favorite color. But then, like I said, I'd get it confused with purple. So, but I appreciate them all now. They're all super unique in their own way. And funny enough, I had a friend who's a really big Turtles fan, and he shared some toys that are coming out, and they've got this really cool set of turtle toys coming out. And Donatello had this really awesome like arm it's coming off of his backpack or something. I'll have to share it to you later, but
yeah, please do.
It's cool. I love him now because I'm like, oh, he's a tech guy. I love that. Like, a tech turtle who's super, in the know-how of that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, that's the great. They're just always the smart one, the one that kind of the planner of the group. That they've all got their own distinct personalities, but Donatello has a very soft spot in my heart for him, and also his weapon, the bow. I mean, as a small child, I couldn't get a swords. I couldn't get sai. I actually had a pair of nunchucks, but that I wasn't allowed to play with them too much. But a bow, you take a broomstick and unscrew the broom part.
You got yourself a bow, exactly.
Yeah, you're breaking lamps and bruising knees, so you're all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, I was thrilled to be able to add that to the collection, and that's actually number 60 for the Skottie art. So to have a nice round number, I thought that was a pretty fitting one to add to the collection to hit that number. So
no, for sure, yeah, and you've got a great art wall as well as the graded wall that you have the slats or slides. So
thank you. It's been a fun collection, and it's grown pretty quickly over the last 10 years. So once again, Tyler, you've talked about adding more to your collection from like artwork wise, and you've got a remark coming in from the CGC. It's amazing to see kind of, I've got probably about a decade on you. So 10 years from now, you'll look back and be like, man, all this Skottie stuff that's came in over the last 10 years, or whichever artist that you want to add to, it's amazing how fast it accumulates over time too. So.
Yeah, trust me. I hear you. And it's the same, that's how I feel with the statues that I get. Because again, like you, I always had this idea of the things that I wanted when I was younger that I just couldn't afford, were too expensive. And finally being able to afford those things and being able to buy them and display them and stuff is just so cool to be able to look and be like, these statues that are, about a foot, 2 feet tall kind of a deal. Or like you said, being able to see Skottie original art or something like that. Oh, yeah. So I definitely look forward.
That's not good. I lost sound. Can you still hear me okay, Tyler? All right. I just lost sound for you. It looks like it says unmute mic. I think you accidentally muted the mic or.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I hit the mute button. How much you heard there, but I must have hit mute with my knee on the keyboard. So I
got you. Okay. I was like, oh man, my Wi-Fi is messing up again.
I'm having some issues there. Yeah. But no, yeah, I look forward, to adding, some more artwork. And I was just saying that, hopefully the hope is to get into a house to have a setup like yours and Tracy's. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, and my goodness. Speaking of new items in your collection, did you see the picture from Dr. Tracy? It wasn't that was insane.
It was awesome. Yeah, it's again, she has such a creative way of showing or sharing artwork. It was almost one that I thought Casey could have taken for the Skottie's website. Just the whole floor just littered with the 27 and her CGC covers and everything. So she also has an incredible collection and knows how to display them in a really nice way. So,
well, I was thinking as I saw that picture and how well orchestrated it all was, I was like, when I try to take a picture of this, especially a slab, my main thing is to not get like my belly in the picture or to get my shoes in the picture. And here Tracy's laid out this beautiful, even if they weren't Skottie books, just the way that she had organized them to get
Yeah.
the picture. And I was looking at like the edge of the table, and I thought, man, she's got those placed where the books are perfect. Like the books are supported by the books on the interior.
Yeah.
I was just incredible job with it.
It's an art process in and of itself. I mean, I remember Megan commenting when I shared the reflective TMNT cover, because she was like, I have the hardest time getting a good picture of this without getting myself in the. And I told her when I took it, I was kind of off to the side, just kind of holding it, so I'd only get the bare minimum of my arm, kind of a deal. So it's. And I do it every time I take photos. Now I have to get out my boards and I set up into the box, and I have to take them in a certain way with certain lighting. So
yeah, you have a good setup too for your picture. So whenever I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I always attribute to this as a compliment to anybody that does this. If I can recognize who you are based upon what pictures you're posting without seeing your name, I know that you're good at what you do. And yeah, there's certain people where it's just like yours. Usually Dr. Tracy's are one, Dre's obviously because he puts his name in there. But there's just certain people that have a certain style about how they post their collection. And you're like, all right, that's cool. They've got it down pat. So
I know it's funny because like I was telling my friends, I was like, yeah, I should just change my Instagram to like Skottie Fan or something now. It's no longer my personal. It's just, hey, here's my walls of Skottie stuff, which I'm not mad with. But it definitely becomes more of an issue, trying to take a picture like Tracy, because when there's too many comics, I have to either break it up into a lot of photos or, kind of overlap them in a certain way. So.
Yeah, it's a talent. It's definitely a talent. And all right, what we got now? New releases this week, and of course, Venom War. This is number 3 of 5, and I believe this is the 3rd one. I don't think we've seen a 4th or a 5th one that Skottie's doing, so maybe this will be the end of the Venom Wars for Skottie. The other books, kind of the big book that came out today, is the first arc of Endgame, Happy Endgame, from I Hate Fairyland. This is the start of the 8th arc of the story overall, the 4th arc of Volume 2. This will be a 5-issue arc like the rest of them. The first 2 covers there by Bean, and the second, or I'm sorry, I'm assuming those are by Brett Bean. Are those by Skottie as well?
I think those are Skottie as well. I'm pretty sure all of these are by Skottie.
Dang it, I missed that. But whenever I was saying that, I looked down and I saw Skottie's signature on them. So, yeah, so all 4 of these.
Yeah, it's funny because the first 2, if you look at it, the signature is smaller and placed a little bit differently from the second 2, or the second 2 of the set of covers. So,
yeah, so this is pretty cool to get all 4 of them from Skottie himself. So. But the main draw are the Lion King homage there for the 1 in 10 and 1 in 25 color of black and white. So, and as Tyler, mentioned to me early on before we started the show, and I'm kicking myself, I omitted the green cover, the green blank cover, which will pair very nicely with the pink one that we've received from, earlier issues. So, I'm sorry, but there is a 5th book, and it's the green. Yeah, and I wondered, you probably saw the picture that was listed in Skottie's email today. Make sure I'm pulling it up here. But it was like an image of each of these issues kind of laid in a sea of the issue behind it.
Yes,
I was assuming, like you had mentioned, Casey, I was assuming she had taken those. But it also made me wonder, with the sheer number that is listed on there, like in those pictures, if we will be seeing any of these books available in the Skottie shop in the future. As possibly, graded, signed, or even raw, ungraded, unsigned copies. So,
yeah, it's always interesting, especially ones like this where, they're not strictly speaking at his exclusives, kind of like the absolute covers. So, like you said, they'll sometimes announce they're going to get CGC offerings, or it could be one of those things where they're like, hey, we've got CGC offerings, we maybe got a handful. So.
If you look at the pictures,
for sure,
there looks like there's at least 7 or 8 in the background of each of the books. So that kind of makes me wonder if they are going to be offered in the Skottie shop. I was checking it periodically throughout the day just to see if any of them popped up, because it'd be pretty cool to get the color and the black and white ratio variants, through via CGC through the Skottie shop if they become available. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And let's not forget. Oh, Ryan's on. Took it. I was expecting to see him pop on. We'll give him a banner. Welcome in. Good to see you on, Ryan. You missed our Bully Wars talk, but please go back and watch it and see if you agree or disagree. We're going to do a complete reread of the full story. So we started with issue 1 tonight. And for everyone, I forgot to mention this, and I mentioned it in our group, but if you go to Amazon, the digital copy for issue 1 is free. So if you just want to try it out and see if you like it, you can download the Kindle app for free, download the digital copy of the Bully Wars issue 1 for free. And if you like it, issue 2 is like $1.99. So I mean, it's a relatively digitally cheap issues. You can also buy the trade paperbacks through there. So yeah, right. It says haven't read it, so might be for the best on my read. Yes, I've said this earlier, Ryan. Full disclosure, I had never read the Bully Wars either, so this is my first introduction into the series, and I'm liking what I'm 20% in, liking what I'm reading so far. So.
Yeah, no, it's a solid one, and like you said, ever since Amazon bought Comixology, because that's how they do all their comics digitally now, is it's that same platform, but they merged it all with Kindle. But thankfully, all of my Comixology library got transferred over. Aside though, because I don't know if you remember, it was like I think 10 years now ago or something. But Marvel did this massive digital comics thing where you could get +1 issues for like 700 comics or like something ridiculously outrageous. And I went through and was able to grab like all of them. So I have like 700 plus like digital issues, but it's because they did this really big giveaway. But it's great. I have it on my iPad, and it's like you said, it's a great way to be able to try out a story without buying into the physical, because it's $5 per an issue, which isn't bad, but if you're buying multiples, it can kind of add up. But also just the space, I find it so hard to find space in an apartment for comics, let alone the other stuff that I buy. So yeah, definitely, it's awesome that it's free, being able to give people that option and be able to check it out. So
yeah, it's a great introductory book, because if you like the first issue, obviously you're going to want to buy the next 4. So yeah, definitely worth checking out and seeing. Ryan, hey, it's whatever gateway gets you into this drug we call Skottie Young.
Exactly.
Yeah, more power to it. So I'm right there with you, Ryan. But one other thing I want to touch on whenever we deal with this issue is we had kind of talked about this before the show started. With this being issues 16 through 20 will be the arc of the volume 2. Me and you were both kind of, before the email today, under the impression that this was going to be wrap up volume 2, much like issue 20 wrapped up volume 1 for Skottie. But as Skottie sent out his letter today via Substack, that say, don't let the name Happy Endgame fool you, though. I Hate Fairyland isn't going anywhere. In fact, quite the opposite. I'll save all the cool changes and surprises for later at the end of the year, but it's really exciting what we'll be doing with the comic. So great news. This is not ending. It will continue on, and we'll have more Gert to enjoy, hopefully for years to come.
No, for sure. Yeah. And like we kind of talked about, this is one of the ones that's continued to go on, well past, his general issues, of Middle West, I think, is like the second longest, or maybe the Strange Academy is the second, at least writing in terms of like writing and stuff. But of his own personal stuff, I Hate Fairyland has gone on the longest. So and I'm happy to see it and happy to get more, and whether that's Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland, or if Brett takes over the artwork, which Brett Bean has done an amazing job with the artwork. So I'm excited to see what these surprises might be later on. So
yeah, I think you're right. I had to check myself there, because I think Strange Academy had a volume 2, which was the weirdest numbering. It went through like issue 18. Same as Middle West, and then all of a sudden there were 6 more issues for the final Strange Academy final. So have no idea why they started back at issue 1, but who knows why Marvel does any of their numbering they do.
That's odd Marvel things, yeah.
Yeah, very, very odd, but yeah, you're right. This one's definitely been his longest writing series, so this is hopefully keeps on going for many, many years. Oh, and this picture just popped up in the Instagram for Stupid Fresh Mess and Skottie's. But for everybody that's got the Ghost Rider animated statue from Gentle Giant on pre-order. It looks like they're starting to ship. So, Stupid Fresh Mess and Skottie posted this image today from their shop. This is popping up. If that's not at my house, I don't have any Eisners. That's at the Skottie shop. So that Ghost Rider looks very nice, popping right in there between those two Eisners. So very cool statue. I'm looking forward to adding this one. It's the first Ghost Rider that we've gotten as an animated statue from the Skottie line. So this one has been one of my most anticipated ones, just because you get the ride to go along with the action with the figure. So
yeah, cool. They've continued to just this past year with these statues, they just continued to improve upon them in ways, whether it's actually breaking off of that base and giving some verticality and some length to it, or the Spider-Man where we get a little bit more environmental pieces to it and stuff. So yeah, I need to step up my statue game. I've at least where I've got my one shelf, it's run out of space, but yeah, these just continue to crush it, and I love being able to see them update their own shelves with their own statues and everything. Well, look at that! Look who just popped in to say hi. So
we have a celebrity among us. Hey, Megan, what's up?
Famous Megan, which is very fitting. That's actually one thing I didn't share was my my Megan slip that John, I posted on Instagram, but John was very kind enough to send me an official Megan slip since my other one was signed by Skottie. So very fitting, yes, for you to pop in and say, hey, we definitely appreciate that. So
yeah, and just full disclosure, whenever Tyler got his Megan thing, me and Tyler are going back and forth in the chats, and it's like, he was very excited. You would have thought that, it completed the collection for now, until we found out that there was many more employees that are names that are popping up. And it's like, daggone it. As soon as you think you got them all, Tyler, another one goes on.
Exactly. Yes. Ooh, Spirit Halloween. That's always a fun time. We've been to a few of them over the past few weeks as well. So
Saturday Night Live had a great skit about Spirit Halloween this past
Saturday.
Saturday.
That. Yeah, I loved it. Was like where you thought it was like a almost like a Goodwill or something, and then it pans out and it's like Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, we're bringing back business to your town for 6 weeks. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and then we're just going to vanish. Exactly.
So very.
And
very
Pizza in Heaven, that sounds really good.
Yeah, you don't want that to burn, so don't let us knuckleheads keep you from going on. But yeah, this statue, just to kind of circle back, you were saying that they keep adding on to different things for the statue. The one that I'm really excited about seeing too is the Hallows Eve that's coming to New York Comic Con. Is just incredible, because that one, we've talked about breakage points for some of these statues. That one makes me nervous just because of the mask, the holding of the mask there. But I'm excited to get that one, and hopefully, I've got a contact that's hopefully going to be successful in picking one up. But we'll try to post any information to the group for whenever pre-sales or sales go up from Gentle Giant. But to me, that's kind of right there with the Chrome Silver Surfer for just being kind of experimental on what they can do with the statue to bring to the fans.
No, that's definitely, and that's definitely one. I look up at my shiny Chrome, Silver Surfer, and was so glad to be able to get that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Megan said that Skottie was really happy with Ghost Rider. Yeah, he had that hidden part. I've always felt the Gentle Giant statues have really represented Skottie's art really well. Like, surprisingly, again, for such a unique and stylized art style that he has, you would think we'd have maybe some more misses than we have hits. But again, I think majority of them are on point. But yeah, these new ones, Ghost Rider, Dr. Octopus, and Doc Ock, and then Hallows Eve, like you said, they're just continuing to just up their game and just really, just accurately capture his 2D art style. So funny enough, I won't be attending New York Comic Con. My brother lives in New York. I'll have to like maybe talk him into like going over there. But funny enough, we're actually going to be going up like right after New York Comic Con. Now we're actually flying up for Halloween.
Really?
For cool. Kind of last minute visit that we've planned to go, and we're going to go see a Halloween parade and go to a concert and do all kinds of stuff. So it should be a fun week. But I'm like, man, we're just missing New York Comic Con. It'd be great to fit that in there as well. So,
well, hopefully he'll be able to grab you the statue at least, so you can fly home with it and not have to, bring it on carry on, so you can.
It's kind of like the Heroes Con. Like I can just go pick it up and then bring it back myself. So
yeah, you have to worry about the postal service damaging breaking the arms off the statue or anything. So
exactly, yeah.
But yeah, that's so there's some really cool statues. This is, and just for everybody that's watching, that's going to be watching in the future, in December, Tyler will join me when we do the Skotties Award Show #2, and this is one of the things we've got to start thinking. Since I don't have to do this by myself now, Tyler, we got to start thinking about which statues that we want to include in the Skotties and which ones are going to make the cut.
That's good, yeah. Cool. I get to be part of it now, so I get to help choose. That sounds good to me.
Yep, get to watch the sausage being made, my friend. So, all right, our next slide here is the comic that had everybody up in a tizzy because they didn't get it. Had everybody up in the tizzy because they did get it and it was damaged. Then had everybody up in a tizzy because they could get 2 new copies of it, but they were behind a paywall at first. So now this is where we are today. The email that came out, the sketch cover, which is on the right, which will be the 3rd issue that's become available for the Valor's preview edition, is now officially sold out. The Virgin cover, which is on the left, obviously the colored version, which had a 500 edition size for $25. It's still available as of Monday. It was open to the general public. So I'm slacking on my job, but I do have a banner if anybody wants to see. This is the company. This is the Shopify group. If you want to, you can't click on it through it, obviously, but if you want to copy that down, and 3W3M is the company that's providing this. One of the issues with this, I think we touched on this maybe in an earlier episode or offline, but there was a lot of issues with the distribution of the first copy of this that had the actual previews title on it. So hopefully they'll either use a different company this time, or they'll actually use maybe bags and boards or something to protect the books a little bit better. And I think Ryan talked about it last week. Now I remember we did discuss this.
We did. Tyler and I both showed off my Valors that I've gotten. So
exactly, we were 3 of the lucky ones because they were all in great shape, the ones that we got. But there were several horror stories, especially within the group, that showed as like, that doesn't quite look that good. Ryan has a good question here. Do we consider this a second print? Or is it at the first and the preview is kind of like an ash can? Or are they all equal? I think this would be considered a second print just because this is still referred to as the preview. Like if you look at their, even in the title down here, it's the Valor's preview edition, Skottie Young Virgin variant. It's all the same. They're all still the preview edition. It's just got a different cover on them. So I would assume the one that has the full title on it of the Valor's would be the first print, and this would be a subsequent printing. So that's just my guess. I mean, it's
kind of a weird one because again, it's not a normal comic. It's coming from overseas, and it's a magazine size too. So it's kind of all around just kind of an odd one. But it probably second printing is how I think and maybe they had these lined up already, and they just wanted to sell the first one and then do these because maybe they're kind of also maybe a variant in a way, but
I'm glad you said that because they did sell the first ones. They released them, and they said that these wouldn't be available till next year, 2025, which leads me to believe that they are a subsequent printing. So, I kind of thought that at first. Are we going to get these in hand immediately? Before I read that, I think I read that today. Either they printed them and they're overseas and they just haven't shipped them yet. Or the first one sold so well that they decided, hey, that's kind of, I don't want to use the word milk it, but there were so many people that missed out on it. Let's give them an opportunity to get at least some version of the character of the book. And did you order any of these, Tyler? I didn't even ask you before. I
did. Yeah, I was able to. I had found somebody who'd help because there was some links going around and stuff whatnot, and I was privy to one of them, so I grabbed one of each. I'm looking forward to it again. I know a lot of the interest is around the value, and being high and stuff and whatnot. I just think it's a really cool cover, especially being an oversized. I really hope we get more of these like odd magazine size oversized editions because it's just so cool to see Skottie's art that much bigger. And I just like the design of this character too. And I think I brought it up, but I had flipped through, the comic itself, and the premise and story and characters seem interesting as well. So Again, I generally only pick up if I'm truly interested in it, not from a value perspective, but just because I think, it's a cool Skottie cover and stuff. So,
Well, I think Ryan said it best last week whenever I said this was a hot book, and Ryan was like, "It's hot," because he got it because he likes Skottie. So I thought that was a great comment.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, that's news to me because I'm not out here, selling them. But again, to each their own. But yeah, these are definitely going to just be personal collection, and like you said, I am hoping, thankfully, like I said, I just had a slight corner ding on mine. Even though I don't plan on selling it, I still, like, to be able to not have any damage per se. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see if, they give me more bubble wrap now that I've ordered, 2 instead of just the one that I had. So
that seems to be the trick, is to order multiple copies, because I'd ordered a few of the first run, and they shipped it in a huge box with bubble wrap, but you'd have thought it would have been, the corners would have been blunted and there would have been at least some spine damage, but it was,
it honestly is always a surprise getting something overseas. I think maybe we brought it up last time, but I order quite a few things from overseas, so it's always, I always expect the worst, pray for the best. And, most of the time the stuff that I get surprisingly, comes pretty well intact, compared to some of the stuff I get from here in the US. So,
yeah.
And then, funny enough, I was going to say something that kind of popped in my head, but, I should grab all these links from you in the future, so that way you can pop them up on screen, and then I can just pop them in the chat message group. And that way, they have them on display, and then, they can also just grab the link if they need to. But hey, 7 episodes in, that's just how it works. Some of that stuff doesn't, come across our minds.
Because if you're like me and a link pops up on your phone, I'm going to be tapping it and like, I can't do anything with it.
I know, yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's our Valors. The other new Skottie Shop news, all 9.8 copies of the death of Spider-Man, 8 deaths of Spider-Man. I believe this is issues 61, 62, and 63. And the other news that is pretty cool, the number 4th death is fixing to be revealed on Instagram at some time in the near future. So that's exciting to see what other ways that Skottie can put poor Spider-Man out of his misery.
Creative. Yeah, I love these. If money permitted, I'd get the whole set of 8, graded. But they're just great. I love, again, that it's just, clean, simple, and just bam, newspaper, spray, sneaker.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be a fly swatter maybe, or, whatever have you. Maybe one of those guns.
Bug zapper.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff, but I also was thinking, where's the line of where it's like, all right, now you can't kill Spider-Man that way, like a knife being stabbing him or something. It's just, I predict a broom.
That's a good one. Yeah, and then I see, Seth is at high. I'm glad. Yeah, it seems there's we got a lot of people coming in here at the end of the show, so we appreciate everybody, jumping in when they can. So
yeah, we appreciate it. Miss the Bully Wars talk. I was me and Tyler got a little deep during Bully Wars. There may have been some tears shed. I'm not gonna swear one way or the other, but yeah, that was Bully Wars discussion is worth going back and listening to.
We did get off on a Harry Potter tangent, but it wasn't as long as Disney, so you don't gotta,
Yeah, don't tell them that. You're trying to kill us here, Tyler. Oh, yeah. Loving the predictions. Yeah, the people have popped up, and all the ones I thought of were so lame that they'll never happen. But there were some very good guesses that came up.
I gotta say, it's probably gotta be fun to be you, Megan, and read all the comments, and probably what's going to be the case. So it must be fun, seeing what people get right, what people it's like, no, that's way off the mark, kind of a deal.
yeah. So very fun. This is, and I'm sure they're not allowed to say, but based upon our show last week, we were talking about Marvel kind of hinted that there would be 10 different variants of this, or 10 different Skottie variants. So I don't know if they'll all be death variants, but the first 3 we've got have been a blast. I'm sure the 4th one's going to be great as well. So really looking forward to seeing that whole series. All right, and this brings us to Arc 7, or Volume 7 of I Hate Fairyland. I do think I actually have a link to the store for this. This is available at the Skottie Shop, and the book plate for this one is Gertzilla, which is really cool. And Tyler, you had mentioned about ordering this one just to get those book plates. You really enjoy receiving those, they're awesome.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I leave all of mine Well, first, I see Megan. I think they go all the way through February. Yeah, it's gotta be crazy to like, because I understand, with planning how long all this stuff, takes, but it's just so interesting because I'd be interested, some of the stuff that Skottie, does it all in one go, like absolute, or is it like, hey, he does them, kind of at a time, or I'm sure it varies, book to book, but yeah, the going back to the book plates, yeah, I love the book plates. I actually leave all of mine in with the book. It's kind of like a nice surprise to open it up and like, oh yeah, there's that book plate. But I do hope to, now that I've gotten a good handful of them, I hope to frame, a handful of them together. Probably, maybe have a set, and then maybe I could like swap out, my favorites, or kind of update it and play around with it. But I love this one. I loved Gertzilla. Honestly, that's my favorite, and I think I haven't checked recently. I think we talked about it, but Brett has the original art for the 2-page spread of Gertzilla, and I love to own that because that's just such a cool looking character that he drew, and it's just larger than life. So I love seeing Skottie take a crack at it, and these are always just so fun. Again, it's kind of like we talked about. It's a lot more difficult. You don't find you're able to get sketches and stuff as much. So it's cool to be able to get these remarks in a way. Even if they're just printed book plates, it's still really cool to be able to see that original Skottie art, and to come with a book like this and to be able to buy it through their site and also get it signed too, which is always nice. So.
Yeah, and one of the other things that you had talked about framing was the name tags, the packed by tags. You get enough of these book plates, you get the packed by tags, you get the stupid freshman stickers. You could have this great collage of Skottie shops.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess I'm definitely I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I'm a sets guy. I love sets. It's like the Spider-Man covers, the absolute covers, anything that's like a set. I'm such a sucker for some reason. But that brings to mind those massive signed posters where they have like multiple pictures put together and stuff. I'll just have to have like a massive Skottie one with all the book plates, and then the name covers on the bottom, and then maybe a cover or two in the middle. So I need to find a framer. I still need to. Again, I've been slacking, but I need to find a framer to be able to get my original art. So that might have to be one I throw in there as well as the the piece de resistance, the center Skottie piece, if you will. So
yes, I am waiting for the day that we'll lead the show with that. I'll move that slide at the very beginning because I really want to see that framed and hung up because that's such a awesome piece. And knowing your background, the gaming background, that 2-page huge splash. Yeah, I can't wait to get that framed. I'm as excited about it as you are. I think, Tyler. I'm very excited.
I know. I'm super excited. It's very fitting because I actually just went yesterday and I picked up. They just released all of the Fortnite Lego sets, and I went there after work and was able to grab the ones that I want. I had to call because I was like, hopefully all the kids and their families aren't going to buy all these sets. Leave some for the adults. They're still playing this game, but.
Stupid kids get all of our sets. So
exactly. So no, yeah, I look forward, to it's I love that. To me is even more fun, that blend of having Skottie stuff all around, on the walls and stuff, but then that blend of, but then there's also the other things that I like Fortnite or Middle West or whatever it is with the statues or even some plushes, like I got the Groot plush from Comic-Con. So it's always fun. And again, I'm very much a material maximalist person, so I'm going to fill any and every blank space I have around me. I guess I've got some open, but
give it time.
I'll take care of that.
Good job, you like great school. Well, one of the great things about Skottie has introduced the daily sketches again with, and I meant to add that another reason I'm slacking, but I meant to add
Happy Gilmore.
So some of the blend that you said, some of your other collections, some of your other interests, some of the other things that, properties that you like, it's always cool when Skottie does a daily sketch of something that you've been a fan of for years, because Skottie doesn't do specific daily sketches like of one era or one property. Yeah. They're all over the map, from music to movies to literary. I mean, it's everything. So it's at any given day, you could open up your Instagram and see a new daily sketch pop up. And it'd be something that's been like your favorite, movie or favorite TV show growing up. And, one of the things of the podcast I was listening to for Bully Wars with Aaron Conley and Skottie today when they asked him, his favorite movie. And I've heard him say this before, and he's had Deadpool reference it, as he says in the podcast, but Notting Hill. And like Notting Hill is, I'm a huge Hugh Grant fan, and Richard Curtis, the one that does the Love Actually and Notting Hill. So just to hear little tidbits like that, you're like, hey, Skottie likes some of the stuff that we like, and you see some of these daily sketches that he does, whether they be Gremlins or Goonies or the Beetlejuice, whatever they may be.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's such a wide variety of properties that he puts out there. So if you're not a fan of one thing, just give it a minute, because there'll be something else that'll come along that'll suck you right in to it.
And then, the nice thing too is, and they've talked about, plans, because they have his daily sketchbooks, and,
Yes.
the hope and, what they hinted at is, that we'll get, more volumes, hopefully, of collected works. And those are always a blast to be able to just go through and see all those, even if you're unfortunately not able to grab the piece itself, just being able to collect those. Because like I said, there's been tons of pieces I wish I could have grabbed. Again, I hopefully will one day own a Harry Potter piece from his collection, because he went through that spout of reading it to his kids, and he drew a whole handful, and just so many great pieces. But I at least can flip through and look at them through the daily sketchbooks, or even just his Instagram. I had told Dustin I had stalked his page one day and went through every single post, because I hadn't really gone back in his history, and thought it was funny seeing that he was at Disney at one point and had drawn daily sketches and hidden them throughout each of the parks that he had attended. And I'm like, come back to Disney, do that again. I live here now. Now I can be like, oh, I'll just pop over, with my pass holder, be able to get in and get that sketch and get out. So
I'd love to see Tyler in a fist fight.
No, I want to get kicked out of Disney. I think my wife would officially kill me, but
that might be the only thing she'd divorce you for, is make it, because as many times as y'all go to Disney, her sister would probably kill you too. So.
She'd be sad, but she's like, I'm still gonna go, and I'd be like, that's understandable. So
Oh man, well, I'm trying to do a segue into this. This is speaking of people. I was saying, wait around, you'll see something you like. Well, if you hate Marvel and love DC, this is what you've been waiting for. This is the big Trinity. The Batman was just our appetizer. Welcome to the entree. The Trinity Absolute All-In pack. And this is, I had mentioned this last week, Tyler. Thanks to these covers and the art that I posted whenever this dropped last Wednesday, it's helped push the group up to 7,500 members now. We hit 7,500 members about an hour and a half ago. Cool. Right before the show started. So I told you that there are certain posts, the Gorillas post that I shared had got over 100,000 views. This one, as of today, before the show started, was at 52,000 views from our group, 165 shares, and 1,300 reactions. So this is a pretty big deal. People like it, I think.
No, it's one of those things where, I'm sure over the years, people, why doesn't he do DC? Why doesn't he, draw Batman and stuff? And he's drawn them, unofficially, a good handful of times, whether that's daily sketches or commissions, whatever have you. But I'm sure people are really excited to finally see, him working with DC in official capacity and getting to draw, their favorite characters like Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. So, I'm more of a Marvel guy than I am DC, but I'm still really stoked and pumped to see him reach out and to these characters and be able to draw them, especially again, I made it in my post, but just getting to see a thick, chunky Batman hanging is just so funny to me. That's one of the things that, and that's DC's thing, but there's just not as much humor, or at least I know there, and I guess I say that without having read too much of it. I know there's humor that exists in it, but in terms of covers, there isn't really a baby's equivalent, or something like that we get kind of humorous DC covers. So, I love humor. I love the fun and joy and seeing stuff like this. So it's definitely going to get me, to visit the DC section a little bit more. So,
because what do we say in the group? When in doubt.
Exactly. Yeah, joke it out. So
that was so lame. I'm sorry.
No,
we will never say that again.
I'm sorry. You were looking for a segue, and I was like, well, there, my wife would absolutely, I was looking for the absolutely joke to segue it in. So, it's corny jokes is our thing here. So,
Well, I had a better segue and I forgot it. So by the time I flipped the page, I was like, forget it.
We'll just dive right in.
Yeah, we'll find it eventually. But yeah, this is Snyder is doing the absolute Batman, and Thompson apparently, I guess the reviews for the Wonder Woman have started dropping, and apparently it is great. Scott Snyder was sharing some of the reviews from it, and it sounds like Wonder Woman's going to be great. And if you think those are good, I'm sure Aaron is going to kill Superman. I mean, just no, not literally, but figuratively speaking, it's going to. I'm Superman's my favorite design of these three. And I'm not a Superman guy. I'm a Batman guy, like most people. But Superman, and someone had mentioned in the group, and that's my first thought was the Brightburn character. I think I mentioned it last week on the show.
You did, yeah.
But yeah, it's the design for Superman. And I revealed last week that I'd sent in, 2 more remarks just because when these dropped for Wonder Woman and Batman, I didn't have a Superman blank, or I probably would have sent in Superman instead because I love this design, and I'm sure Jason Aaron's going to do wonders with this. So I don't normally read superhero comics. I like reading the independent comics more so, but I've got all these on my pull list, so I'm actually open them up and read them. So I'm not Skottie, but
I look forward, like we talked about, there's so many covers that I grab for Skottie, and I don't do the justice, of at least reading, I paid for the comics. So, you should be able to at least go through once and read it, whether or not it's your thing. And like you said, you never know, if you find something interesting, but, I'm definitely, interested in diving into these. And I've heard at least like Batman's already sold out its first printing. It'll be going, back to second printing. It's not even out yet, kind of a deal. So,
and Dragata, he's revealed his second printing cover, and it is insane. He's removed because I don't know if you.
I did see this. Yeah, the second printing cover was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but the bat symbol is an axe that's removable, retracted. So that is.
Oh, I didn't see that part. No. Okay.
Yeah, so he's holding it. I think Mark Brooks's cover was the first one that I saw because whenever he takes it off, you see like a cross stitching kind of where it's
gotcha.
He holds it as an axe. So that was the first one I saw, and it makes because Dragata got so much grief whenever the first symbol, and then to see that it's removable as an axe, you're like, okay, well that kind of makes sense. You want it to be kind of broad, so yeah, and that's what the second printing cover has, and it looks insane.
It's one of those things, kind of like with Superman, with how you like, these characters have been drawn, either very, very similar, over and over and over again, or we've gotten some slight differences and stuff. So it's really fun to get, different drawn looks. And I like that, that Ryan's comment that you had up. And that's definitely fair, the crossover stuff for sure. They did run into like the Looney Tunes and holiday specials. So, like I said, I love to see that. And like I said, Batman, taking what seems to be a serious, cover and comic that's going to be coming out and just seeing him hung up with it. Because I didn't realize it at first until I saw the actual cover, why he's got multiple cape pieces stuck, is because like that's the actual design of this Batman, having these more individualistic pieces rather than just like one mesh cape. So
it's going to be really interesting to see, because Felix, who we talked about earlier in the show, had posted some of the, I can't remember if it was, because Felix, if you ever watch any of his YouTube shows when the artists send their art in, they'll show like picture, he'll show like what's coming up. And I can't remember if it was on one of his shows or just via Instagram or Facebook, but he had showed like some of the images of the interiors for Absolute Batman. And it just looks like every page, absolutely every page is just going to be so
I follow them on Twitter, so I get all their updates. So they'll post constantly. I always love seeing like, hey, this art's out, kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
I keep watching because the big Felix. Here we are talking about other things, but Felix was going to do the Brian Lee O'Malley Scott Pilgrim
drop for Scott Pilgrim,
and it got delayed. So I've been kind of watching it not periodically, every daily.
News,
Yeah, but there's been a lot of talk about the Absolute Batman, and I can't wait to see when the original art goes up. If it's like most of the other big issues that come out, it may have already sold complete, because Felix says he doesn't normally sell complete unless someone just throws an insane offer at him, and
say, hey,
yeah.
Somebody
from the He reminds me of like somebody from The Notebook trying to buy Noah's house. That crazy of a deal for where he runs them off. Yeah, there's a Notebook reference. That one's
I
pretty.
like it. I like it.
So, but yeah, so I have a feeling someone's going to throw a crazy number at him for this one because it looks like it's going to be starting off
The
this
hype
great.
around it is definitely big. So
Yeah, Skottie should do non-baby covers for these crossovers. That'd be dope. Yes, it would. I agree. Which we haven't even talked. This sale goes live tomorrow. I'm sorry, I kind of got sidetracked talking about the issues themselves. But yeah, Ryan, that would be dope. We had talked last week. Was there going to be black and white covers? Was there going to be foils? And how expensive was this going to be? At least for the time being, I'm glad it's just one cover each because everybody should be able to get the book they want. Even at a 2,500 edition size for each one. And not have to worry about breaking the bank. Whether it had been 9 dropping at one time, it might have got kind of pricey for everyone that's wanting to collect these. And, the prices on them, you may have to squint to see, but please join Skottie's Substack, and you'll be able to get these newsletters and be able to see all the different pricing. These are priced as shop exclusives, and people that are expecting the 250,000 print run of $5 issues from the Absolute Batman 1. These are specific to Skottie's shop that he had to buy the batch of 2,500 for. Therefore, he has to price them wherever he can, sell them and not be stuck with thousands of copies. So this is right in line with other shop exclusives. If you look around from whether they be, Jay Scott's shop or, Mark Brooks has started selling some from his own shop now. So I know there were some people saying, hey, we keep buying these. They're $30 a piece, but these are they're exclusive to Skottie's shop. That's the only place you can get them. And if you want Skottie to be able to keep producing these, you're going to have to pay this price for them to justify being able to. Otherwise, other shops or, DC or Marvel will just have him do them. And the exclusivity of them will kind of disappear altogether. So. That's my soapbox. Sorry.
No, I mean it's something we could go off and have a whole episode on, I'm sure. So
yeah, for the future, we'll get on that. So let's see. Any other comments? No, I think that's. Are you planning on picking any of these up or DC in your wheelhouse now, Tyler? Or
like I said, I picked up all of the first Batman just because it was special and I just really liked the cover. I had planned on probably picking up the 3. It's like I'll either get the 3 or I'll just get Batman because Batman for me is definitely my favorite. I definitely, really like the other 2 as well. And I especially, again, like the fact that it's kind of set, with the absolute joke. So that's kind of where I'm kind of going between is either just Batman or getting the 3 of them probably signed. So
I think the good news, because if you just get the Batman and you change your mind at a later date with this edition size, they're probably not going to be day one sellouts. So I may be wrong about that, especially with the bundle being offered at a discounted rate. But I think this will be a pretty hot book. But I think you'll have at least a few weeks to kind of look it over and think. I like this. I agree, Seth. Superman 1 is the best.
I haven't really said anything. I like it, but unlike most people, I really like Superman as a character. I get, he's not for everybody. Pretty boy, he's invincible and all the stuff on it. But again, to me, and it's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to James Gunn movies because I'm tired of seeing, evil beat him up, red eyes Superman. Like I want to see Superman getting a cat out of a tree. I want to see Superman, talking to kids, and that's to me is the core of Superman. So I enjoy the cover, but I want the curly Q. I miss the curly Q. I want the curly Q and the red underwear and the utility belt. That's the Superman I most love. So tips on the OA. I guess that's an interesting one. When we'll so you haven't anything about the original Batman OA either. So
yeah, my prediction is we probably won't ever see that one. Especially with it being a milestone. I would if I was
the official DC, I would hope that he'd hang on to it, for a while. So
I think I've said it before, but there's several of them I would love to see pop up, even though they'd probably be out of my price range. But at the same time, with them being such big moments for Skottie in his career, it's like, well, I kind of hope he hangs on to those because
Yeah.
I'm sure whoever has a good Skottie art collection, Skottie's is probably really, really, really good with all the stuff that he's been able to kind of save over the year and add up. So I hope this is one. There's certain ones where I see and I'm thinking those are neat, but I kind of hope Skottie hangs on to them. And the Ninja Turtles was another one that,
Yeah.
I was thinking that's such a cool one, and that was such a big cover. I think he may hang on to that one too, but that's just me.
I agree. Yeah.
He hasn't said anything, but I'm just guessing. But yeah, there was several people that messaged me whenever I posted this, and I'm not affiliated, with the Skottie shop or Skottie. We just do this because we're fans. But you asked me if I knew when the OA was going to be available, and I really don't, and I don't know if it will ever be available.
We're not that much of an in with them, so
yeah. So, but I like to chat with them, but I'm not an insider. I have some distance. So, but I admire their work from as far as I can. I've literally only read The Death of Superman. Yeah, there's not been a whole lot of superhero books, and as I said earlier, that I've actually read too. So, but they're fun. The artwork's so fun. They're so classic, and thankfully, with movies, we don't have to do much reading anymore, other than Tyler, who, as we find out, reads the Harry Potter books every year. So,
I love my reading. I'm doing it right now with The Wild Robot. I'll plug that movie, Wild Robot. If you've not seen, it's a new animated movie based on a children's book series, and it's one of the most beautiful animated films I've seen in a while. So I love my reading time at night. I'll do it generally before I fall asleep, and it's
good for you. That's good.
Helps me sleep pretty easily. So
I admire that. I really do. I'm not saying that with tongue in cheek at all. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure we'd all be a little bit smarter if we all did more reading. So. Well done.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm smarter, but I would maybe say my imagination is a little bit more vivid, maybe. So
there you go. All right. Well, I think that can. Oh no! I'm sorry. Wow, man, I did these yesterday and I forgot. This kind of dropped, and I didn't know. But Skottie's going overseas this at the end of this month. So,
and that lines up with that's Megan and them talked about how this is lining up, unfortunately, with the Absolute stuff. So there'll be a little bit of, odd periods where they get the comics, Skottie's overseas, and it has to come back and do signings. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's going to be crazy timing. But that list he's got, he'll be there with good company, seeing some of the Skottie connections down there. And I don't want to try to pronounce her name, but I'm pointing with my mouse again, Tyler. Second row from the bottom back, the last column there. But who Untold Tales of Fairyland was one of the contributors.
Oh, yes.
Rachel. Yeah, I'm not going. I don't want to.
Yeah, Rachel Aragno. But like you said, we're probably most likely butchering it, unfortunately. But at least I want to tempted to be able to call out who specifically it is. So.
Yeah. So if anybody's over, at this time of the year, can meet Skottie and post pictures, please do. I'm sure Skottie will have a blast. Hopefully he can take some of his family with him. I haven't asked if Megan's going to get to go or not yet, or John or any of the team there, but this may be one where he goes solo because Megan may have to run the shop while he's.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least from the post, it sounded kind of like it might be a solo trip because I'm sure they're going to be swamped, with Absolute and like they said, it's gonna be a lot of work, It takes a lot of work doing the bundle kind of stuff when they release, at different times. So
most
definitely hold down the fort for sure. I'm guessing.
Yeah, she can enjoy from afar. Hopefully, Skottie will post a lot of pictures so we can see how beautiful it is over there.
I went to Italy once. We did a family trip and we did multiple spots and we went to Italy for a little bit of time and it was gorgeous. We went out more so in the country and stuff, but. Right. It'd be cool to go as a creator and get to see a different side of the industry and different areas where people also love your work and everything. So yeah, I definitely hope to see photos or videos, kind of like Comic-Con, where we get to see the crowds and everything. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if the lines. I'm sure just judging by the group and being able to look at the demographics of our group that we have, Skottie, the love for Skottie's art and writing is kind of spread out worldwide. So I'm sure it'll be no exception over there than it was in San Diego or Connecticut or Charlotte. I mean, it's going to be a massive line, I'm sure. So
Exactly.
hopefully he has fun. And I didn't want to bypass Ryan's comment here since we'd kind of moved on past DC, but yeah, I'm scared to count my trade in omnibus. Definitely, easy over 200, probably over 300. Good Lord. Yeah, that's quite a few. That's a lot of reading there.
Yeah, I've just got my 2 shelves. I'm more so into art books. I've got a lot of art books for movies and games and all of that stuff. But yeah, not as crazy on the trade paperbacks and prints. That stuff I reserve generally for like the stuff that I truly either love or I got discounted so I can kind of read. So
I typically buy new trade paperbacks right before I go on vacation. I'll buy a stack of them, and I never get to read them on vacation because with 4 kids.
And that just like they're perfect for that, but it's like you don't get to. So
yeah, I was doing my reread. If anybody saw the pictures from vacation of the I Hate Fairyland Volume 1, and I think I made it 6 issues in on my reread for that. But I'd planned on reading the whole thing, and it didn't happen. But
yeah,
I'm still rereading that one too. So, which we'll save for future episodes as well.
Exactly.
All right. And that brings us to the end of our show. The thing we've been talking about every single show is the Heroes Potential Fan Meetup. Once again, if anybody wants to join the group or is already a part of the group of the Skottie Young Appreciation Group on Facebook, please message either Tyler or myself if you have any ideas. The little poll we put up had about 18 people, so they might be interested. If we can get 5 to 10 people, it'll be fun to meet up. If not, me and Tyler run around chasing things like chasing sketches and art like we did last time. So
that's good. Enjoy. Yeah, good call out there, Ryan. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. But did you all see where Funko spoiled it already?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately,
okay. I'm not going to say it.
The toy leaks hit again or strike again. So.
And they're saying maybe it's not true, but it's probably true. So,
yeah.
So I'm not going to say what it's about. I'm not going to say what it is, but yeah, dang you, Funko. So
search at your own risks, your own peril.
Yeah. So, but enjoy, Ryan. Hopefully, I don't have many episodes. I think it's supposed to end around Halloween, so it probably does. It's got some episodes left. So, saw about it, but not the leak. Yeah, don't look at the leak because it's.
Stay away then. Enjoy the show and.
Yeah. And it didn't get broadcast too much. I saw it pop up in a couple of groups, so maybe you'll be able to enjoy the show without actually getting spoiled. So, yeah, 9 episodes total, and I thought the last episode came out on Halloween, but I may not have my dates or around Halloween, so I may not have my dates lined up right. But anyway, I think that's it. If anybody wants to join us on here, as always, you're welcome to come. And Tyler, I forgot to tell you, Andrew, who works for CGC, had messaged about possibly coming on here.
Yes,
and making an appearance. And I had actually messaged him today, and I said, I'm not sure when the Skottie signing is, but I can't not read a comment. I'm a sucker. I'm okay with spoilers. Catching flies is easier. Oh, clues. Okay.
I was also thrown off about the flies part. I was like, catching flies. Okay.
It's like catching flies. Like that's some metaphor I've never heard before. But yes,
it makes a lot more sense there. So
yeah, I got you. But real quick, Andrew said, he doesn't work in Florida for CGC, but he kind of works remotely. But he's actually going to come on. We're going to line it up, even after the Skottie signing, whenever that takes place down at Sarasota. We'll have him come on maybe a week or 2 afterwards, just to kind of discuss the process at shows or his Skottie collection or whatever. So yeah, I meant to tell you about that before we got started talking about designs and other stuff. So. Yeah, so he may be our next guest unless somebody wants to come on in the meantime. Anybody's more than welcome to join us. It's hopefully we're easy enough to get along with, but if not, we'll do our best. All right, you want to hit us with the sign off, or you got anything else to say, Tyler? Before?
No, yeah, just it's always fun doing these shows, and I always especially love seeing people in the comments, and especially when people like Megan or Seth, the people we know pop in and say hey. So.
And Ryan's our MVP.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan, not to leave out Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. Always great to see returning names or just getting to chat with people. So it makes it more fun for me. I don't know if that's the same for you. I'm sure it's the same for you. Like you said, it's just fun getting to chat with people. So hopefully y'all will keep returning, and we'll keep putting out videos. And yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ryan's got the idea. One of us says stay fresh, the other says stay messy.
I have zero chill, absolutely zero chill. So
I
saying that makes me feel like I'm like a poser. So that's yeah. Tyler does it. Tyler does our sign off. He's a lot more hip than I am. So
no. I mean, it's like you said, we just as we always generally end it, everybody just stay messy and stay collecting Skottie, and hopefully everyone will have a wonderful night. So
all right, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Catch y'all later.